409 on KDKA, and delighted to be joined by a longtime friend, somebody I have a tremendous amount of respect for because he always goes out, he's always doing his research, and when he is talking about a product, as far as it being something new, something different, you know there's something pretty cool about it. As we welcome into the program, Dr. Frank Vigiano. What's new, Dr. Frank?
Hey, Rick, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
I am so glad to have you here. You know, so much has changed when it comes to cars and automotive, and in that particular space, we think about, you know, it used to be that there weren't even seat belts in cars, right? There weren't airbags in cars. We didn't have to think about, you know, those kinds of safety considerations a long time ago because the cars were enormous, built out of big, heavy steel and all that kind of stuff. But then they got smaller and smaller, and we realized that safety was a consideration. And now we've gotten to the point where it's state-of-the-art safety systems and driving systems, and you're here to talk to us about some of the things that are new in cars today.
Absolutely, and you know, the thing is they're smart. Everything is getting smart in our world, which is great. But you know, Rick, when you think about it, the three-point seatbelt was originated in 1958, and then the airbag came along in 1974. When you think about those two, they were monumental achievements in automotive safety and technology. And now we're really at state-of-the-art, as you mentioned. So one most important thing that we're going to talk about, and this is really, it's something called LiDAR. And maybe some of our listeners have heard about it, LiDAR. But Hesai, which is basically, they're the leaders in this whole field. But let me explain what LiDAR is. It's an acronym which means Light Detection and Ranging. So they have successfully integrated hundreds of lasers. These lasers, basically, they emit and detect modules into LiDAR. So think of it this way. Think of almost like a dome on the top of your car, if you will, just to understand it. And all these lasers are inside that dome, and they rotate 360 degrees constantly. And what's amazing, and what Hesai has done, they're basically have kind of led the engineering and R&D breakthrough on this product. Up until this time, Rick, you could only find LiDAR in real expensive vehicles, top-of-the-line, luxury models, you know, well over $100,000.
Right.
But what they've done is these price points, they've made the massive adoption so that automakers, regardless of the model, regardless of the car, regardless of the price, even $30,000, as you know, is what's down in that range anymore. But the benefit is they're going to be able to put LiDAR in every vehicle. So think of it as a way to scan and create a 3D view of the vehicle's surroundings, other cars, buildings, traffic signs, pedestrians, bikers, motorcycles. It captures all that. It does not retain anything. And this is what's so unique about LiDAR compared to other technologies that are out there. So think of it as a 3D snapshot, and they basically call it a point cloud. And what happens is they take a snapshot, they take that information, they send it to the car. They send it to the car's computer. The car's computer, in a fraction of a second, makes decisions. Do I brake? Do I emergency brake? You know, how do I basically alert the driver?
How is this different, Frank, than, say, what we see on some of these self-driving cars that have been tested here in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. So the self-driving cars are basically radar, if you will, and cameras. Okay? So, and that's how they pick that up, and that's fine. And they certainly do communicate as well, you know, to the processor in the vehicle. But the thing with LiDAR, which people see, the thing that people are suspect of, Rick, is that they retain the information.
Right, and this
so
doesn't.
They're saying, okay, right, this does not. This is the most important thing about it, and it sees in poor weather, low light, no light, it doesn't matter. But the fact that it's safe and secure and doesn't retain images or contain Bluetooth or Wi-Fi of any type, their goal is to make roads safer. And think of it this way: it's the new technology that's there to help you drive safely, protect you from accidents, but it doesn't retain any personal information from the car, the driver, etc. It only captures it like a picture, like a snapshot, sends it to the car then reacts.
One of the things that I want to talk to you about, that's really, really high-tech stuff, is been around as long as we've had cars, and that is literally the tires that are on it, the wheels that are on it. And Continental's got a couple of different things here that really are bringing high-tech to something that has been thought of as being pretty low-tech, haven't they?
Absolutely. Well, you know, think about it. Without tires, we go nowhere.
Yeah.
And I don't care what vehicle you purchase, they are the most important aftermarket purchase that you'll make, because They are the one, between the rubber and the road, you think about it, they're the ones that keep you safe, keep you on the road. That's really important. So to me, buying a set of tires is one of the most important decisions that you'll make, and you should buy from a quality manufacturer. Do your research, look at everything. But what I really like about Continental, besides the fact that they have exceptional tread life, 80,000-mile warranty, great for braking and handling, they basically, in their tires, Rick, they have indicators. They have D for dry, W for wet, and S for... Now, these are symbols. So instead of using a penny and putting the penny into the tread to see what your tires are like, what happens here is when the tire no longer is tuned for optimum performance in dry conditions, basically, or wet or snow. So let's talk about snow first. When the S wears away on the tire, you should not drive the vehicle in the snow.
You can still drive it in wet or dry, but it's not safe for snow at that point.
You got it. Yeah. Absolutely. And this is the only manufacturer that does this, and that's why I like it so much. And they also have indicators, rectangles, that are molded into both sides of your tire tread. And what they do, Rick, is they can tell you whether you're wearing the tires evenly or whether you need an alignment. No other tire in the market does that.
Continental's also been really big, I think, with a lot of the electric vehicles, right?
Oh, they have, absolutely. In fact, what's interesting is that 7 out of the 10 manufacturers, and we're talking EV manufacturers, all the different car makers, 7 out of 10 purchase Continental tires because they're already EV ready. And that's important. And what's important about that is they've constructed their tires to basically compensate for the weight of the battery. So when we're talking about an EV, electric vehicle for our listeners, an EV basically has more weight, way more weight than a regular combustion engine car.
Because of the battery, right?
Because of the battery, right, and that's what they do. And most importantly, too, and I think this is important as well, is that they have a tire called the Viking Contact 7. The one we talked about previously is called True Contact Tour, which is a good all-season, even in snow, good all-season tire that you can basically put on any SUV, any type of vehicle, and you can go in the snow, the dry, and so forth. Now, the Viking Contact 7 is actually a snow tire. And since we experience snow in western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, our tri-state area, it's important that you take a look and see what are those pretty much,
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
the important thing.
Absolutely. So Frank, we need to take a quick break here, but hang on. We got a few more things I want to talk to you about. So stay right where you are. Dr. Frank telling us about some new things for our cars to check out as we are headed into the change of the season. It's 422 on KDKA. There's a display on your car that basically tells you what's going on with your tire pressure. The TPMS tire pressure monitoring system is out there. Now are we starting to see some aftermarket options as opposed to just what's in there automatically, Frank?
Well, Bruce, most important thing, Rick, is it's law today that you cannot build a vehicle without TPMS sensors inside the wheel. So anybody listening, if they're going to be getting a new car, and most of these cars for the last 8-10 years have had TPMS installed. Just make sure, when you see a tire that shows up on your dashboard and the tire is either orange or green in color, that usually tells you that your air pressure is off, and to check your tires and make sure that the TPMSs, they're in good shape.
And particularly this time of year when you've got a lot of hot and cold variances and things like that, and you got some of these alloy wheels and things like that, you may end up having some low pressure this time of year. Important to watch that. We talked about EVs in relation to tires. What about in terms of chargers? How are we supposed to charge these things? Is there something now that gives you a better option for charging, Frank?
No question. Yes. It's made by Enel X-Way, spelled E-N-E-L, the letter X, and then W-A-Y. It's called JuiceBox. And what I really like, these people are really, they're so into what they're doing, Rick, and their tech support's amazing. I call all the time when I test anything. I always call in like a regular consumer to see what they handle. But the selection of smart home EV charger stations, what's important today is people want them faster, they want them smarter, they want them to be clean, they want the power to be for all electric vehicles. But most importantly, what's important here is that they have a Wi-Fi setup where you can actually charge your car from your couch. And it's very cool, yeah. And it's compatible with Amazon Alexa and Google Home via voice commands. You get notifications when your car stops charging. You can set up charging schedules if you want when the rates are lower, let's say in the evening, if you have, basically high rate, low rate type of plan with your electricity. And it's got a built-in cable rack, too, And what I really like about it is cost effective. They're run probably start around $400 and go up depending upon, where you buy it and so forth. But there's also rebates, Rick, and you want to take a look at that because the rebates really will help bring that price down. But most important is that these chargers have become very smart. They're working with all of the different technologies. They're working with voice commands.
Right.
And the most important thing is buy something that you can install in your garage and enjoy.
We are running tight on time, but I know you also have seen the new Hyundai, the Ioniq 6, which is their EV. Give us a sense for where this thing is coming down. It's done very well in some of the world rankings and things like that.
Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, I've driven it briefly back in April. I was invited to the launch and drove it. I'm going to be driving it more extensively in the next 2 weeks. But it's won World Car of the Year, World Electric Vehicle, and World Design of the Year. It's just amazing. But here's the thing, Rick. They haven't compromised safety. Every safety feature that you could ask for. Forward collision avoidance, highway driving assist, lane following assist, rear occupant alerts, etc. What's nice about the vehicle, they have all of that in that car, but also, too, and this is what's important, you can charge the battery that they have in there from 10 to 80% in as little as 18 minutes. How about that?
That's remarkable because that's one of the big knocks. And the other thing is range. They've also got a longer range option now?
Yep, 371 miles if you go with a long-range option, which is going to be, basically a battery that is more robust.
Uh-huh.
And, that's a little extra money, but when you think about it, you want to eliminate range anxiety, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Frank, you have told us about a lot of different things in a short period of time. You always do, and I always love having you on because I know you've done your research and you've looked into them before you're talking about them. So thank you so much for being here. It's always good to know what's new, Dr. Frank.
Well, Rick, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be with you. You're a great broadcaster.
You're very kind. You're very kind. Frank Vigiano joining us, talking to us about all kinds of tech for your car.